do we do?
Create a safety plan, or I will call crisis.
Create a safety plan or call crisis. Now, a lot of times they'll say, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to hurt myself.
And we're talking about outpatient. We're not talking about inpatient. Because I was talking about inpatient.
Okay.
So,
well,
if you're outpatient, it's different.
If she's inpatient.
I get what you're saying.
Right.
But I thought that the thing was she was in the hospital at the time, not...
Oh, no. At this point, we just kind of like...
Got you. I got you. Okay.
Yeah. But let's do that inpatient.
But I was talking about... When I said the way I was talking about from inpatient, you're right. Outside, I would never call somebody's bluff. Mm-hmm. You call me from home, I'm not going to call your bluff.
So inpatient, you have a very different,
it's a different modality, right.
And you have more power.
Sure.
So once they're in the hospital, an inpatient, you definitely. I mean, you have the authority and the power to assure their safety. Right. You're actually the dominant one at that particular point because they can't make a good and healthy decision. So the law will support the decision that you make, whatever it is that you need to do.
But I was saying the 10th admission. Remember I said the 10th admission.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the first admission. Yeah. That's the 10th time.
Yeah, inpatient 10 times.
And you've said all them times that you were going to kill yourself, but you didn't.
Right.
So now it reminded me of a story about a guy who he kept coming in and out, just like you said, and they were so busy worried about his mental that they forgot his physical. Right? And that happens so often, and that's what I'm hypersensitive to that because a lot of times when we're thinking about their mental, it's their physical that we're not paying attention to because they're there talking about their depression. We don't know that the depression is coming from real pain that's causing them some real illnesses. You know what I mean? And what happened was he kept coming in and out of the hospital for about 10 years. It'd be 30 admissions, right? And he died from liver cancer because they didn't even check for cancer. You know what I mean? No, he was in the 4th stage when they finally found out. And it hurt me so bad. You know what I mean? I wanted to tell the family, but I couldn't.
How do you all as a clinician, how do you eliminate that problem? So a person is coming in.
I was literally just talking to, I had a prospective client reach out to me, and I talked to them about one of the things that I do. I'm not a medical professional, but I do understand some of the body systems that can cause us to have a differential diagnosis that is physiologically induced. So I'm like, all right, if you're coming in for anxiety and we can't see a reason, go get your thyroid.
Well, before you do anything, that goes back to counseling 101. You always refer to the medical professional.
Yes.
Always.
But like with this young woman, I'm interested to know what medications is she on.
Right.
That's what I was saying.
Are there any interactions with medications? Because she's been going to these doctors.
Well,
I haven't got. I'm only here.
So according to this here case, after we read it, we didn't find anything.
Okay.
We didn't hear any medication. We didn't hear any kind of treatment. We didn't hear anything. All we heard was symptoms.
But if she's inpatient, she's getting medication.
If she's inpatient, but if so, just given what they gave us in terms of the case study.
Is she inpatient, or is this a medical hospital that's trying to run tests?
I don't know. I don't think. Sure. I think actually, if you read through it, because as I was looking, it kept going back and forth to different things. So it's just kind of like giving history of her symptoms. So it didn't say that she was in the hospital or out of the hospital or anything. It just pretty much was kind of like I'm reading through and I'm looking, and it looks like they're just giving history of her symptoms, right? But even aside from that, right? So we just created a whole person, right? This same client is coming into you, and this is a client outpatient that you've been working with for a very long time. So our follow-up as clinicians, we need to understand how to respond outpatient. Inpatient is very different, and none of us, with the exception of one, is inpatient bound. Oh, you're in CHOP.
I'm in CHOP.
Okay. Anybody else hospital? Okay, so we got 2 hospital partial.
I worked at a partial for a while.
Yeah, I worked at a partial, but currently right now, so on the outpatient side, how do we follow up with that when they're making these statements, when they're making these claims, when they're saying I give up? You try to safety plan. If they don't want a safety plan, or if you in your best judgment do not trust what they're saying, what is your response? What is your responsibility to that client crisis? You know, our responsibility is first to save life. So you call 911. You keep the individual on the line with you until the police arrive. You do not hang up. You keep talking. You do your best. You know, of course, acknowledge feelings, stay in the present with them, you know, indulge the conversation, you know, just kind of validate where they are, what they're going through, because the ideal is to keep them there with you. So if you start, you know, confronting different things or talking against what they're feeling or telling them it's going to be better, chances are they're going to bang on you, right? Because you don't understand. So it's all that empathetic responding to help them understand. If it's a client that's in your office and they're, you know, they're just, you know, kind of giving you these, you know, ideations, passive ideations, you safety plan with them. You create a contract with them. You let them know, hey, listen, I need you to sign this contract. If you're willing to sign this contract and you make a promise to me that you will not hurt yourself and you'll follow up with me in the next 24 hours. If there's any sharp objects or anything, you want to remove them out of the way. If you feel as though it gets to be too much, you want to put this on a contract, then you want to call this number. Always put 911 on there, and you put the local crisis. I put Fitzgerald on my contracts. It's just, you know, it's right there, right? And I'm in Delaware County, so that's the one that pops in my mind. Or I put the Hot Chester. I'll put that on there, right? So you want to put those numbers on there. I always have 911 because it's the easiest. Mobile crisis. And if you don't know, Mr. Google is always, I mean, Mr. Google, I am not afraid of Mr. Google. We are best friends. Like, Mr. Google, look, or, you know, pull it up and get it right quick. Get that number and put it on there. Have them sign. Now, this signed contract serves a couple of purposes. Right? All right.
And they must have a copy.
Documentation.
They must have that. Yeah. They must have a copy. You give it to them, and you keep a copy for you. That is, and you know, if it's not documented, it didn't happen. If you didn't, and you follow that up in your notes. You document it. You document the conversation. You document, you know how you followed up. You get the signature and you put it on file. If they refuse to sign it, you write on there, refuse to sign. And you know, you put that in your chart. You keep a record of that.
We had a situation 2014 at the hospital. Case manager met her client at the doctor's office. Many of you may have heard. He shot her point blank in the face. She died. The psychiatrist had a gun in his on his person.
That was what, 2 years ago? How long ago?
2016.
2016, 2 years ago. Oh, I remember all so well. You remember?
And
I worked at Marikey at the time.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what were the signs for that individual? He's in jail, thank God, because if he's on the street anywhere, he would definitely be dead. So what were the signs that he was going through that much?
Good question. What were the signs? Oh, just recently, 2 weeks ago, postal shooting, New Jersey.
Yeah.
Now, that literally was home. Now, I don't know him. My husband knew the shooter. My best friend was best friends. We're really close with him, and she's grieving hard. Grieving hard because I'm assuming the night before he wanted to talk. She couldn't talk. But how do we know?
Right.
Good question. How do we know? What are some of the signs and symptoms that suggest that this person is transitioning, has transitioned? Sometimes we don't even take time out to pay attention. And you know what else is really disturbing for me, which I talk about a lot? One of the things, because of the time that we're living in now with social media and everything so instant. Who actually goes over to someone's house now and kind of sit and just chit chat?
Right.
I could FaceTime you. I could quick text you. I could send a post or whatever. I could pop in on your social media and see what's going on with you, or think I know what's going on. So I don't really take time out to get to know you, get up and personal. That plucks my nerve. Right? So how would you know? That's an excellent question. How would you know? And then we'll wrap up on that. Signs and symptoms.
Give me people that you're close to.
It doesn't matter. It could be someone you're close to, and most important, someone that you're close to. How would you recognize? How would you know?
I think you just gotta ask the right questions, because
I'm fine.
Right? People say
I'm fine.
So
and they say that all the time. I'm good.
So what does that mean? How are you good?
I'm good. What do you mean? I'm good. Like it ain't nothing to tell. I'm good. What do you mean? Right.
I think when a person's ready to like get up and go, like they ready, they done, you'll see like a full on shift in their behavior. So they not talking, they making moves.
They making moves.
This person is not interested in having a conversation with you. They're not interested in high and by someone that you may have spoken to, even if it's infrequently. But if they used to respond in a couple of hours, they're not responding in a couple of hours. Even with a phone call, with a text message, or sending somebody over. And I would say, like, especially with someone we're close to, we feel.
Yeah.
This is what we do. If we haven't gotten hardened and traumatized, you can still feel it.
So follow-up is good. Follow up. Even when the person... even when you don't have a session with the person, you got to follow up, especially if you have that instinct.
Excellent. Always follow up.
I've been thinking about that for like the past hours.
All right. So, I have a couple of podcasts. Two that talks about a couple that talks about suicide. And they're real quick, about 5 to 8 minutes, no more than 8 minutes. And one specifically, and we failed to check in. Just check in. Just check in, stop by, say hi, pay attention. They're making moves. They're not talking. Right. The phone calls drop. The conversations are short. The mood is changed. They're eating or not. They're distancing themselves. And then, some of the classic signs when you start seeing little kids, they're saying goodbyes. They're giving things away. They're telling you, I love you. They're expressing a whole lot of stuff, and it happens really sudden. This stuff is real,
right?
You feel it
onset in your euphoria almost.
It's
they
there.
Were sad, now they're all super happy now.
Yeah, it is so there. I'm not proud to say, but I've experienced the suicide of a really good friend of mine in early 2000. I did go through counseling and everything with that because he clearly told me his plan. He clearly told me what he was going to do. Everything that he said he was going to do, he did it. Now, he said it in joking form. So, boy, stop playing. Paraplegic, separated, 2 children. Told me, called me over, babe, I'm getting ready to go. We're going to Disney World. I need you to come help me. Went over, helped him fold up his clothes, pack his clothes, everything. Him and his wife were separated at the time. He took his children. Anyway. Went to Disney World, got back on Labor Day. Called me, babe, I'm home. Give me a call later. All right, I'll call you when I get home because I'm, at the block party. Call you when I get home. Got home, went to sleep. Woke up to about 1:30 in the morning to our mutual friend, just hysterical. He did it. I don't believe he did it. And just to find out how he did it and why he did it, it just blew my mind. He said, B, I could never kill my kids. If I kill my kids, I can't kill them because I told them I got to take them to Disney World, then I kill them. I mean, there's a whole nother story behind that, but for the sake of time, I have to take them to Disney World before I kill them. True story. Wow. Took them to Disney World, got home, sent them to school, planned everything. I came home, and his wife. So, yeah, it's devastating. How do you know? How do you know? And how would you know? Sometimes we just don't. But as much as we can be cognizant, check in, Don't take any cry for help as just attention seeking. If they say they're tired, they're tired. Always do a suicide assessment, risk assessment. If you feel as though that this person is at risk of harming themselves and you can't trust what they're saying, call 911, do an involuntary commit. If they won't voluntarily commit themselves, you want to try to get them to voluntarily commit themselves. And, you know, how about you just take yourself in and sign, because we don't want to do a 302. They don't want a 302 on their record. You don't want to go through the process of having to do a 302. So if we could get them to voluntarily commit themselves, that's perfect. If not, you have to do the process. Make sense?
All of that works well,
but
when it happens, but when you have someone who is
ready,
determined to leave, and they put DNR on their chest,
ouch,
and you find them, I did a couple of my co-workers on 2 occasions, DNR.
They're ready. When they're ready, they're ready, and there's nothing you can do. And sometimes, I mean, that may be the case. That may be the case. And then for you, I mean, even if you have someone that you have to admit, or you have someone crying on your phone talking about suicide, that could, vicarious trauma is real. That can be very treacherous for you as well. And so you must follow up with someone. You must talk about it. Check in with a supervisor, or check in with a knowledgeable other, a coworker, or somebody that you can sit down. And as clinicians, you know, they say we should have our own therapist, and I agree with that. So you make sure you have someone that you can check in with, process that with, talk about those things, and let it go. Move on. And me, I give it to God too. So I throw that one in there. All right. Any final thoughts?
Mental health first aid.
Mental health first aid. All right. That was awesome, guys.
Thank you.